Now, the head of the main Sikh party in India has called on political leaders to unite against what he called anti-Sikh propaganda, following the reaction to the killing of a Sikh separatist leader in Canada. It comes amid an ongoing diplomatic standoff between India and Canada over the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Earlier this week, Canada said it was investigating credible allegations linking India with the murder. India angrily rejected the allegations, calling it absurd. Let's get more on this now by talking to Jasveer Singh, who joins me now from Vancouver in Canada. Good evening, Jasveer.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Jasveer, what can you tell us about Hardeep Singh Nijjar?
So Hardeep Singh Nijjar, up until this June, was the president of Sari Gurdwara, Guru Nanak Gurdwara, which is one of the biggest, busiest Gurdwara outside of India, Sikh places of worship. He was also a prominent community activist and what we call a sevadar, a selfless servant, helping people from issues like the flooding that happened here across BC and also the wildfires, and also a known advocate for Khalistan, a free Sikh homeland in Punjab.
And what do you make of the intervention of the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau?
So when Hardeep Singh Nijjar was assassinated in a professional hit in his own Gurdwara in June, there was such a shockwave through the Sikh community in Canada and globally that it really forced a renewed look at Indian interference across the state, because Hardeep Nijjar was very vocal about death threats to his life. This was confirmed by Canadian authorities, and now even Justin Trudeau has spoken on it. And the community welcomes it. They welcome finally the veil being lifted of this issue of the Indian state targeting the Sikh community overseas and in its own homeland.
And over the last few days, obviously, there's been exchanges between India and Canada after Justin Trudeau made that statement in Parliament. What is the mood like amongst the Sikh community in Canada?
Well, a prominent community speaker recently said that the Sikh community, they take to death a bit differently than other communities, other faiths, because sometimes in these kind of situations we can find it uplifting and invigorating, because Hardeep Nijjar gave his life for a cause, and it's just inspired more people to be dedicated to that cause, because he knew the Indian state was going to target him for supporting Khalistan. And now we're seeing massive gatherings for Khalistan happening here. Just 2 weeks ago, 130,000 Sikhs came together at the Gurdwara where he was assassinated and where he was formerly president. So the mood is positive. The mood is the community is going to resist. They're going to carry on determinedly towards these goals and justice.
India has said that Mr. Nijjar was a terrorist and deny any involvement in his death. What do you make of that?
So I think it's important to remember that Canadian authorities have thoroughly investigated these accusations on several occasions. They've been dangled over Hardeep Singh Nijjar's head for like 10, 15 years. So there's been a lot of focus on him, and there's been no evidence of any criminality found. That's because there isn't any. He was just a simple plumber that was also a prominent community speaker. It's also important to remember that the BBC recently released a documentary which showed that Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, could technically be called a terrorist for what he did 20 years ago and probably since as well. So the values of the Indian legal system and the way they're judging people like Hardeep Singh Nijjar, I think they need to be really examined.
India has issued an advisory urging its citizens travelling to or living in Canada to exercise utmost caution. What do you make of this approach?
It's just really petty, isn't it? Because I think everyone knows that at a grassroots level, at a street level, there isn't any issue of any kind of conflict or danger that their community or any community really faces when it comes to this kind of issue. What we are seeing is just vocal activism, community gathering and organizing. So it's just petty, and it's a kind of punish one, punish all approach.
Yeah, but there is evidence, isn't there, of some Sikh leaders in Canada threatening Indians to go back to India, that their lives would be in danger in Canada. I mean, we've seen that all over the place.
Can I speak on that?
Yep.
Because I think what's happened is no one's actually watched the video. In the video that you're referring to, Six for Justice leader Gurpratwar Singh Pannu, what he says is any Hindus that are not going to follow Canadian law, they should leave Canada and go back to India. And he was simply referring to the same incident Justin Trudeau was referring to, the assassination of a Sikh man that the Indian state are believed to have been behind. What he didn't say, as is being pushed by a lot of media, specifically media, is he threatened all Hindus that they need to get out of the country. That's literally not what he said. I encourage people to watch the actual video and see for themselves what he said.
But it did provoke political leaders in Canada to make statements to pacify the Hindu community that they are safe in Canada. Yeah. Okay. Also,
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Also, India has suspended visa services for Canadians. What do you make of that?
Again, just very petty. Again, the punish one, punish all approach. It's very important for people to travel back and forth from their homeland. And why would they punish people that have nothing to do with this issue at all in this way? It really does highlight, what the state of the Indian government right now and the way they deal with these kind of issues leaves a lot to be thought.
Okay, finally, Jasveer, how do you think both Canada and India move forward from here?
Well, from a Sikh community perspective, what the expectations of Canada now are to continue to act upon this. It's one thing to acknowledge the targeting of the Sikh community by the Indian state, but now there needs to be action on it. So there's an expectation for further investigation, further evidence to come to light, and actual, maybe punishments, maybe a complete change, an overhaul in the system that allows India to put diplomats that have now been found to be, communicating about a covert murder that occurred on foreign seas. And, maybe the UK needs to, definitely the UK needs to examine the situation too, because there was the assassination of Avtak Singh Kanda, who was threatened by Major Gaurav Arya, an Indian army figure, publicly. He said he would be finished soon in April. In June, Avtak Singh Kanda passed of suspected poisoning. There needs to be a big re-examination of.
Okay. Jasveer, thank you so much for talking to us this evening. That was Jasveer Singh from Vancouver, and he's from the Sikh Press Association.